Welcome, Catholicos, Catholics, Orthodox Christians, all who seek the truth. Do you believe, do you remember the days when we were told it's only 2 weeks, 2 weeks only, just to flatten the curve? Just flatten the curve and then we can get back to normal, just so we won't be overwhelmed. And this 2 weeks has turned into 6 months, maybe 7 months, maybe a year, maybe forever. Because from flattening the curve, now we're waiting for a vaccine or a cure, which is, of course, impossible. But this reminds us of what God himself has said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11. God has sent us the operation of error to believe lying. That is what has happened. Now, in this video, I will bring nothing from my own self, nothing from my own opinions, no conspiracies, no theories, simply the facts. The facts which cannot be checked, like they say, fact check. How can you check a fact? A fact is by definition a fact, a truth. It cannot be checked. Shows you the mental level, the competence or lack thereof of those who come up with these slogans. Fact check the fact. By the mere word of fact, it is a truth. Cannot be checked. But for this video, I will go through all the approved sources. New York Times, Center for Disease Control, World Health Organization, more mainstream media, news stations, and so forth, to bring out the truth of what we are living through. Is this a dangerous situation, or have you been lied to, been deluded, been deceived through cases? I will avoid using certain words, but you know what we're talking about here. We're hearing about cases trying to keep this scare going, and apparently nobody or very few people are dying. We no longer hear about deaths, just cases. Let that sink. Now, before we start, and to demolish the deception, and to follow truth and reason, we're going to go through articles. We're going to go through New York Times, number 1, to start off. With their discussion about the PCR test, which came out in this couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, in an article. But before we go do that, because I'm going to go through all the articles, I wanted to go bam. We don't want to waste too much time. I don't want to have a 10-hour video here. But before we go into it, I want to tell you, because I used to have a business, a shop, and I used to train my employees, telling them, for our customers, now not to insult anybody, but that goes to myself as well. When I tell the new employees how to deal with customers, I tell them people are 3 things. People are sheep, meaning they'll follow anything. People are lazy, meaning they don't want to make the effort they're lazy, just don't want to, I'm going to climb a couple of steps to go into here. Yeah, I'd rather just go next door. I have to look up if you have products on a shelf. Do I have to look up? Oh man, I want to keep my eyes here. That's why in supermarkets, actually, companies pay the supermarkets money to display their products on the aisles on the outside or in the center aisle, because they know people are lazy. Their eyes go there. They don't want to even bother lifting up their heads to seek the truth, to seek alternatives. No, that's in front of me. It must be true. And then number 3 is people are not intelligent. And of course, I did not use that word. I used the S word for that, for being not very smart. And again, I goes for myself as well. This goes to all human beings. We are blinded sometimes. We see a crowd, we follow the crowd. Everybody's doing this, we follow everybody's doing it. It must be true because everybody's doing it. It can't be not true. So that's the problem. We are lazy. We are not very intelligent. We are sheep. We tend to follow. We don't do our homework. We don't spend the time. And to be honest, most people don't have the time to spend. Now, the other thing, before we get on, I know it's a personal story time here. It is, we used to have a magic shop. I used to sell magic tricks within our business as well. And ask anybody, an amateur magician, doing card tricks, coin tricks, levitations, mind reading, whatever. The more you do these tricks, the more you learn them and perform them, the more you realize how easily people are deceived, how easily people are manipulated, how easily people are led to where you want them to be led. Where you want them to go, you lead them. You might say, oh, pick a choice. You have all these cards. Pick any which one you like. They pick one, but they pick the one you want them to pick. But they think, oh, I'm free. I chose to do this. I chose because I'm smart. I chose it by my own free will. But they did not. Their will was manipulated. Their perception was changed. And their choice was chosen for them. Now, personal stories are over now. Let's go into the story. Now, the New York Times. Now, this one, again, is a video, not just for us. It is for everybody. It is for every human being who values truth, who values sanity, who values reason, and does not want to be deceived. But this video, because it's a Catholic channel, I'm directing it to our supposed pastors, the successors of the apostles, whose job is to adhere to, proclaim, and defend the truth. Be it Jesus Christ himself, be it his church, or be it a fact, a truth. But so this one, I want every bishop to see it. I want you guys to send it to your bishop, to send it to your priest, to send it to your parish council, to send it to your family, send it to your friends, send it to your local government officials, your health department, the health people, I know they know that already, but the elected politicians, tell them, this is the truth. These are the sources you trust. New York Times, CDC, World Health Organization, all these people you trust, you believe. That's what they say. Now, this is the truth. Set us free, or we will be free, because it is better to be free. Live free rather than live as a slave to a lie. All right, so let us get going. So number one, we're going to go into what the New York Times has said. And I'm going to put pictures of them on the video. You can search online. You can find the full articles, read them completely. You know that I'm not making stuff up. This is exactly what they said. So, New York Times, the title of the article, your test, your magic virus test is positive. Maybe it shouldn't be. I'm avoiding to say certain terms. Maybe it shouldn't be. You tested positive, but maybe it shouldn't be. Now here we go. The article says, the usual diagnostic test may simply be too sensitive. And in this article, they are talking about the PCR test, which is one of the 3 approved tests of the CDC to test for the magical, all-pervasive virus. Now, here is what it says. It says, this is from the New York Times, the most establishment of establishment newspapers. Okay, here it is. The standard tests are diagnosing huge numbers of people who may be carrying relatively insignificant amounts of the virus, which means they have nothing. Insignificant amounts with no significance. And they're testing positive. Most of these people are not likely to be contagious, and identifying them may contribute to bottlenecks that prevent those who are contagious from being found in time. Now, they go through, we're going to see how they actually go through this article showing that this PCR test is very, very unreliable. They just mentioned huge numbers of people are testing positive when they shouldn't be because they have insignificant amounts of this virus in their system, but they're testing positive, and we hear cases. Everybody's testing positive. And actually in Florida, there was an investigation. Some laboratories were bringing in 100% positive, which is of course an impossibility. And then the illogic in this article, if you read the whole article, first of all, they demolish the efficacy or the accuracy of this PCR test. But then they say, oh, no, we got to test more, even though they just demolished its accuracy. And then they actually say here, the need for more widespread use of rapid tests. So maybe this test, which is not that accurate, let's go even with more rapid tests. Let's test even more with more inaccurate things. And that's actually from the New York Times itself. About the the title of the article is "It's Kitchen Sink Time: Fast, Less Accurate Magic Virus Tests May Be Good Enough." So they just will demolish completely this PCR test. Now they are pushing for even a less accurate magic virus test. Where is the logic in that? It is complete, total insanity. So let's continue to go back to the original article. So it says, the most widely used diagnostic test for the new magic virus is the PCR test. And this test just shows a yes or a no, but it's not good enough, as they say. And what's important, boys and girls, it's the amount of virus, or it's the viral load that should dictate the infected person's next steps. It's really irresponsible. That's quoted from the New York Times. It is really irresponsible, I think, to forego the recognition of the viral load. How much of the virus is there? Is it an insignificant amount, which is the huge amounts of people are testing positive with insignificant amount? So this is the most, let's quote this. It's really irresponsible, I think, to forego the recognition that this is a quantitative issue, Dr. Mina said. The PCR test amplifies, remember that word, it amplifies, makes much bigger genetic matter, not necessarily the virus, from the virus. See, genetic matter from the virus. So it's not detecting the virus, but just genetic matter from the virus in cycles. The fewer cycles required, the greater the amount of the virus or viral load in the sample. That's the important thing. In 3 sets of testing data now this shows you here the complete garbage test the PCR test is and has been and has become and continues to be. And this is from the New York Times. I have to repeat this. I'm not making it up myself, with doctors reporting it to the most establishment newspaper in the country. In 3 sets of testing data. That includes cycle thresholds. This is the critical side, because the more cycles there are, the less accurate it is. So it says the 3 sets of testing data that include cycle thresholds compiled by officials in Massachusetts, New York, and Nevada. And these were actually looked at by the New York Times. Up to 90%. 90% of people testing positive carried barely any virus. So 90% of the positive tests with positive cases, 90% carried barely any virus. A review by the Times found. So they actually looked at the data and found out that 90% of positive tests, that's why they mentioned huge numbers of testing positive, 90% of the people testing positive carried barely any virus. And that goes statewide, nationwide, worldwide. Let's continue. On Thursday, the United States recorded 445,604 new coronavirus cases. Then perhaps only 4,500 of those people may have actually need to isolate. This is from the New York Times. Tests with thresholds so high. So again, they're tests with thresholds. Quoting the doctor here, Dr. Mina. Dr. Mina saying from New York Times. The New York Times says, tests with thresholds so high. Actually, it's the paragraph before it actually explains it a bit more. It says, one solution would be to adjust the thresholds, because the thresholds, the cycles are so high, they're detecting basically people are non-infected. They have virtually no virus in them, but they're detecting genetic material. So here it says here, most tests set the limit at 40. At 40. So it has to go 40 cycles to detect the virus. Now, this is what the doctor says. He says, tests with thresholds so high may detect not just live viruses, but also genetic fragments, leftovers from infection that pose no particular risk, akin to finding a hair in a room long after the person has left, Dr. Mina said. And then they asked another doctor, it says, any test with a cycle threshold above 35, and the test our threshold is 40. So she says here, above 35 is too sensitive, agreed Juliette Morrison, a virologist at the University of California, Riverside. And that's what she says here in quotation marks. I am shocked that people would think that 40 would represent a positive, she said. And it continues the article. But with 20% or more of people testing positive for the virus in some parts of the country, Dr. Mina and other researchers are questioning the use of PCR tests as a frontline diagnostic tool. And of course, you have 90%, which is a false positive. It is a negative because they barely had any virus at all, if any. It is just because the cycle is so high that it will detect anything. And again, so this was from their article. Read the whole thing. Demolish the PCR tests of the 90% false positive, because that's what it is. It's a false positive because they just said, New York Times said, they had virtually any virus in them. And then from the New York Times in 2007, the article from New York Times again says, faith in quick test leads to epidemic that wasn't. That's from 2007. And what happened? They were doing tests on whooping cough. And what were they using? The PCR test. The magic test for everything apparently. The second was PCR, the quick test to diagnose the disease. And here's what the doctor is saying. That's from New York Times again, 2007. There are probably 100 different PCR protocols and methods being used throughout the country. And it is unclear how often any of them are accurate. It is unclear how often any of them are accurate. Well, New York Times in 2020 said 90% are inaccurate, despite the presence of the So here we have, despite the presence of PCR positive results, the disease was not whooping cough pertussis, which is what they were looking for. So the PCR test, yes, the virus is there, but in fact, it wasn't. That's what the New York Times says in 2007 by another doctor. And that's the test which is being used among the antibody test and the antigen test, which we're going to go through quickly as well. So from the article from 2007 in New York Times, and continues, the big message is that every lab is vulnerable to having false positives. No single test result is absolute, and that is even more important with test results based on PCR. Now, one last thing about the PCR test, and this came to my attention actually last night. So I'm glad I waited to record this video, because this is straight out of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, the US Center for Disease Control, issued in July 13th, 2020. The title, I will put it on the screen. You can see what the title is. CDC 2019, Real-Time RT-PCR Diagnostic Panel, Instruction on Use. And I'll place the video, the picture on the screen when I'm done here, and you can see everything. And you can find that whole document and read it yourself. So I will just highlight, because truth seeps among the deception through the official organs as well. So here we go. So it is, again, they're talking about the PCR test. Positive results, line 2 from the thing I have on the screen. Positive results are indicative, so they indicate of active infection with the 2019 magic virus, but do not rule out, keywords, but a positive result, do not rule out bacterial infection or co-infection from other viruses. There you go. You could have a bacterial infection, you test positive. You have other infection from other viruses, you test positive. Plus, it tests positive 90% of the time falsely, as according to the New York Times. So the agent detected may not be the definite cause of disease. There you go. All right, so now, and then negative results. Well, that's what the story with positive. With positive. What's the story with negative, CDC? Negative results do not preclude that you have the magic virus. And should not be used as a sole basis for treatment or other patient management decisions. So basically, if you test negative, it doesn't mean you don't have it. And if you test positive, it could mean that you have other viruses or bacterial infection. So as the song goes, war, what is it good for? I'll say PCR, what is it good for? And the answer is absolutely nothing. Let's continue. All right, so that's from the same CDC documents. Warnings and precautions for in vitro diagnostic use. This test has not been FDA cleared or approved. All right, that's good to know. And then this test has been authorized only for the detection of nucleic acid from the magic virus, not for any other viruses or pathogens. Yeah, but it does detect the other viruses and pathogens, including bacteria, which you just said, CDC, and 90% of them is false, as according to the New York Times. The test is only authorized for the duration of the declaration that circumstances exist to justify because this test was done as an emergency, because everybody knows it sucks. So here it is. This test is only authorized for the duration or of the declaration that circumstances exist justifying the authorizations of emergency use for the detection of the magic virus. And it continues in the same document. Again, detection of viral RNA, which is the magic virus's structure, may not. So the detection of viral RNA is so stupid, makes you laugh. It's so insane. It makes you laugh or just go nuts. And I'm trying to contain myself. Now I'm laughing. A month ago, I was yelling and screaming. So, of course, I'm not going to do that on screen. I'll do that in my own private residence. Detection of viral RNA. Actually, I don't care anymore. This is the facts. These are the facts. You want to believe the facts and live free? Believe them. If you want to listen to the parrots on television because they're reading a prepared, everybody's repeating the same line. So we've got parrots who repeat everything. You want to follow the parrots and parrot them. Parrot the parrots, and then be like, you see what they do and follow them. Do exactly what they tell you to do with no thinking. It's up to you. But hey, if you want the facts, these are the facts. And if you have the facts, you'll be free. The truth will set you free. So, and you don't have to listen to the scaremongers, the fearmongers, the liars, the deceivers on television and in politics. All right, so, but this is from the CDC. Let's continue with the same document. The detection of viral RNA may not indicate the presence of infectious virus, or for any virus, or that of the magic virus of 2019. Is the causative agent for clinical symptoms. So it's either, continuing, the performance of this test has not been established for monitoring treatment for magic virus infection. So the performance of this test has not been established for monitoring treatment of magic virus infection. The performance of this test has not been established for screening of blood or blood products for the presence of magic virus 2019. This test cannot rule out diseases caused by other bacterial or viral pathogens. So as I said again, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Actually, it is used for it does have a use. It has the use of providing positive cases, creating fear and paranoia and basically mental derangement and psychological damage. That is the purpose of it. That is the only purpose of it. And you'll say, well, YouTube guy, why are you bringing this up? Well, I know this is a Catholic channel. It's all about religion and stuff. This is part of religion, Catholic faith, Christianity is truth. And we are dealing with truth and falsehood. And we are supposed to follow the truth in every facet of our lives. And at least recognize the truth. That is why, and this is affecting this show, this theatrical production is affecting our spiritual lives. Mass, sacraments, prayer, community. It is affecting our spiritual, our emotional, our mental states, our mental, spiritual, emotional lives. That is why this is being covered here. Let us go ahead. And why do they have to go with 40 cycles to find the magic virus, which is meaningless, as Dr. Mina and the other virologists in the New York Times said? Because there is no positive at that point. 90% are false. Why do they have to go that high? Why? In May, from Italy, on Reuters, another establishment news source, not some fringe website, Reuters, May 31st, 2020. So it was known a long time ago. And this doctor is actually the head of the hospital in Milan, I believe, where was the epicenter of the magic virus in Italy. What is he? So the title of the article, look it up yourself, from Reuters News. New magic virus losing potency. Top Italian doctor says. Not any doctor. Top Italian doctor says. So here it is. The new magic virus is losing its potency and has become much less lethal, a senior Italian doctor said on Sunday. And now they're quoting the doctor. Again, read the whole article yourself. In reality, so not in fantasy land, not in delusion land, not in TV land, not in Twitterverse, not in any of these Facebook world, none of that. Not in, none of these fairy tale falsehood propagating organisms, agencies. So he says the doctor, top Italian doctor, head of the San Raffaele Hospital in Milan. He's the head of the San Raffaele Hospital in Milan, the northern region of Lombardy, which has become the brunt of Italy's magic virus contagion. So what does the head of the San Raffaele Hospital in Milan himself, the top Italian doctor, say at the end of May 2020? In reality, not in fantasy land, in reality, the virus clinically no longer exists in Italy. In reality, the virus clinically no longer exists in Italy, said by Alberto Zangrillo. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think Zangrillo, the head of the San Raffaele Hospital in Milan. He continues, he says, the swabs that were performed over the last 10 days showed a viral load. Remember Dr. Mina in the New York Times article about the PCR test, that it is the viral load which is important, not this fragments of something. No, it is the viral load which is the critical criterion. The swabs, and let's continue with the doctor again, repeated, the swabs that were performed over the last 10 days showed a viral load in quantitative terms. Again, back to Dr. Mina, I believe. He said, this is a quantitative issue and it has to be faced. This is a quantitative issue. It is not this, we found a drop in an ocean. Whoa, you've got the magic virus. No, it is a quantitative issue, as Dr. Mina said in the New York Times. Let's go back again. I'm going to read this again. From the doctor in Italy, the head of the San Raffaele Hospital in Milan, who said, in reality, the virus clinically no longer exists in Italy. The swabs that were performed over the last 10 days showed a viral load in quantitative terms that was absolutely infinitesimal. Compared to the ones carried out a month or 2 months ago, he told Rai Television, which is the state-run Italian television network. So the viral load in quantitative terms was absolutely infinitesimal. That's why the virus in Italy, the magic virus, no longer exists. And that's why they have to do 1 billion cycles to find something to report a positive of a virus, which could be the magic virus. According to the CDC, it could be a bacterial infection. It could be another viral infection, according to the CDC, which I quoted you already. Zangrillo, the doctor again, said some experts were too alarmist about the prospect of a second wave of infections, and politicians needed to take into account the new, what? Reality. Stop living in fantasy land. Reality. The new reality. The viral load is infinitesimal. That's why 90% of the positives, according to the New York Times, are false, because they go into super high cycles and produce, they find something which is basically with virtually no virus. He continues, the doctor, we've got to get back to being a normal country. We've got to get back to being a normal country, he said. Someone has to take responsibility for terrorizing the country. That's the head of the hospital in Milan, which suffered the brunt of all the magic virus infections. Someone has to take responsibility for terrorizing the country. We have to get back to normal, and the politicians have to face reality. We have to face reality. Our bishops have to face reality. Our priests have to face reality. Our patriarchs have to face reality. Instead of propagating error, submitting to lies, and inflaming fear and paranoia. Another doctor in the same article from Reuters, the strength of the virus we had 2 months ago is not the same strength as it has today, said Dr. Matteo Bassetti, head of the infectious disease clinic in the San Martino Hospital in the city of Genoa. There you go. No longer exists. Viral load is infinitesimal. Now, because as I said before, the CDC, they say there are 3 tests, actual tests, other than the fake symptoms, which you're going to get into in a bit. So the second test is the antibody test. So we saw the accuracy of the PCR test, which is, I don't need to repeat myself, watch it from the beginning, which is as good as nothing. It's actually worse than nothing. Now, we go to the others. And actually, the CDC even approved that test as an emergency use, only for that magic virus, only for the state of emergency, which shows it's a crap test. Now, we go to the other test, the antibody test. Again, from the CDC website, not from my head, not from other non-approved websites, which you're not allowed to look at because they are not approved. Big Brother is not approved, you know. So Magic Virus 1984, there's another test for it, approved by the CDC. What is it? Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. It is the antibody test. All right, so let us look what the CDC says. Antibody tests. Check your blood by looking for antibodies which may tell you if you had a past infection with the virus that causes the magic disease, antibody are proteins. Where does it say? Yeah, it's going to say it in a second that actually it, we'll get to it in a second. Antibody tests should not be used to diagnose the current MAGIC 1984 infection, except in instances in which viral testing, which is the PCR crap test, which we went through already, is delayed. So you can do the other, even worse test, which is the antibody test. And what happens with the antibody test? It tells you, test from CDC, not making it up here. I'm not bringing stuff from my own head because I am nobody. I'm not an expert, but I follow the science. I'm following the science. I won't deny science. All right, so let's see what the science says from the officials of science, the CDC. So what do your results mean? That's from the CDC. If you test positive. So what happens if you test positive with the antibody test, which is, according to the CDC, is even worse than the PCR test, and you shouldn't even use it unless you use the PCR test. If you can't get to the PCR test, you shouldn't even be bothering to use that. Alrighty then, let's see what, and we saw how good the PCR test is. So what happens if you test positive? Cases. We have cases. Oh man, cases. All right, good for you. All right, so what happens if you test positive with the antibody test, which is even worse, according to the CDC, than the PCR test? What happens? A positive test result shows that you, look at the qualifying words they use, shows that you maybe not, who knows? Who the hell knows? You may, even if you test positive, you may have antibodies. So you may not actually even have antibodies, but you tested positive. All right then. From an infection with the virus that causes the MAGIC 1984 disease. The MAGIC virus 1984 disease. However, first we had the big may. You may have antibodies, then again, you may not. You may have the infection, then you may not. However, there's a chance that he tested positive result means, what does it mean, CDC? You have. There's a chance a positive result means you have, not even the may there, it even has less, actually it seems to be more certain than the MAGIC virus detection. It means you have antibodies from an infection with a different virus from the same family of viruses called the viruses with the crown, which include, does it say it on this, because this is an updated one, which include, it says it somewhere else. So it's the same family of viruses. They all belong to the same family, which includes the seasonal flu and the common cold. And that's exactly, they said it in their, this is their updated one, the previous one, exact same words. They actually say the same words, same family of viruses called that, which include the common cold. The CDC said, because the common cold belongs to that family. The seasonal flu belongs to that same family. So the antibody test will test you positive. There's a good chance of testing you positive if you had antibodies from these diseases too, because they all belong to the same family of viruses. There you go. That's why it's even worse than the PCR test. Now, of course, they're pushing even more faster tests, because the PCR test is I mean, 90% is false positive. CDC says don't even bother using the antibody test unless you can't get a hold of the PCR test because it's less reliable. And now they produce and they're pushing for even faster test. And the CDC just approved recently the antigen test. And from ABC News, not from my own head, not from the head of a YouTube guy in front of his screen and camera, from ABC News, authorized, official, government-approved ABC News. Antigen test. What does it say? In theory, antigen tests can be used to screen individuals infected with the virus. In theory. But these tests did not become FDA authorized until May 8th. Why? Emergency use authorization. Emergency use authorization was granted late Friday. And it quotes here, these tests, they're quoting Dr. Simon Wiles, an ABC News medical contributor and an infectious diseases physician at South Shore Health in Massachusetts. Not YouTube guy. Okay? That's what does the Dr. Simone Wiles say. These tests are less accurate. Let me repeat that again. The antigen test is less accurate than antibody and PCR tests, but they are great for detecting new cases. Of course, so the antigen test is less accurate than the antibody test, which is less accurate than the PCR test, which is 90% false positive. And these, of course, it says the doctor, they are great for detecting new cases. Of course they detect cases because they'll detect anything. That's why they detect cases. That's why we have a case surge. And these, I don't want to call people back, but why do you succumb to the insanity and run around to get yourself tested? Because you're going to test positive, most likely, and put yourself through hell for what? For tests which are worse than nothing. Their only good is to, as she said, they're great for detecting what? Detecting cases, new cases. Let's get to it. So I'll quote her one more time for the antigen tests. These tests are less accurate than antibody tests, which is less accurate than, as the CDC says, the PCR tests. But hey, go ahead and take them. More testing. We need more testing. Go line up with your cars and put on your face diaper and gloves and remove it and have things stuck up your nose. Or this one, the PCR test, the antigen, I think, is a drop of blood. Go ahead, get tested because, you need to be more paranoid. And again, I am just quoting official sources, approved news sources. Nothing from my own head. All right, so this is taking a bit longer, but hey, it's one video on the subject. I will not do anything on it again, because if that doesn't open up your minds, open up your eyes, then nothing will. And I'm really not gonna bother with doing multiple because one is good enough. I collected all the data from all the official sources, and they tell us the truth in these cases, but you have to sift through the garbage to find the truth. So I guess it's going to be a bit longer than that because we gotta deal with the topic and lock it down and end it. End the deception. Demolish the deception and expose the truth. And maybe the bishops and the priests and the pastors and even our friends and family and relatives and government officials who are not using this magic virus for political reasons, which they probably are, open up their eyes and do the right thing and follow reason and truth instead of propagating lies and succumbing to paranoia, fear, and mental derangement. All right, let's continue. Now, before these are the actual, so we went through the PCR test, the antibody test, the antigen test. So, crap, bad, worse, the worst. But hey, go get tested. Because, the parrots on television tell you to. All right, so now, even before that, again, the CDC says Magic Disease 2019, 2020 interim case definition, approved August 5th, 2020. And this is an update of the definition, was approved in April. So they updated a bit. So case definition, how do you define a case? So we had the magic cases already. We've seen with the PCR, the antibody, the antigen. Hey, let's have some more. And this one actually happened before a lot of these other tests happened. That's why we had the magic surge in cases. Because if you had a cough and a headache or a sniffles, you are a case, or a presumptive case. We'll see. I'm not making stuff up. CDC. Okay, here we go. So it says, note, a surveillance case definition enables public health officials to classify and count cases. That's the whole purpose of all these definitions. The Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists, CSTE, realizes that field investigations will involve evaluations of persons with no symptoms. No symptoms. And I don't blame them for doing that. I blame the people with no symptoms who run like sheep to put themselves under the thumb of those who are going to give them who's going to scare them for no apparent reason. I have no symptoms. I feel great. But hey, let me go get tested. Because I was told to do that. The TV person told me to do that. The pretty lady on television with her big eyes told me, I gotta go get tested. You never know. You gotta be safe. Go get tested. You never know. We gotta be safe. So, anyway, so it says here, citizens with feel involve evaluations of persons with no symptoms. And these individuals with no symptoms will need to be counted as cases. It's telling you right then and there. You're going to evaluate people with no symptoms, and these individuals will need to be counted as cases. Cases, 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 cases. Give me more, give me more, give me more. That's why I say cases mean shit. And I shouldn't be saying that on a Catholic channel, but hey, the S word is not a swear word. It's not maybe it's an ugly word, but it is actually a product of the human digestive system. So it is a natural thing. So cases mean nothing. Let's put it in a more clean manner. Even though we are dealing with something which is full of the S word again. Anyways, okay, let's see what the CDC says from how to define a case. Case, again, it is their Magic Virus 2019 interim case definitions, August 5th, 2020. So what are the clinical criteria, boys and girls? Well, to be clinical criteria, to be tested, you have to have at least two of these. See how stringent it is? You need two. What? Well, if you have a fever, is it a real fever? Well, it's measured or subjective. So if I think I have a fever subjectively, well, okay, fine. That's one. What else? Well, they say chills, wriggles, headache. So I've got a fever which measured or subjective. Subjective is good enough. And a headache. A headache again is subjective. Oh man, I didn't have my coffee. I've got a headache, but I think I've got a fever. All right. Clinical criteria, case. And then another one could be a sore throat. So if you have a fever, or you think you have a fever and a sore throat, or you have a headache and maybe a bit of a sore throat, you reach the 2 required for a likely diagnosis of magic virus in 2019. Magic virus 2019. Again, we're entering, winter season, or in the spring, you've got the flowers, you got the bloom, you've got the pollen, and you see all the antihistamines advertised because you got a runny nose, itchy eyes, sore throat. And if you have these from the spring flowers, or in the winter, maybe from, I don't know, a little cold or something, you got a congestion or runny nose. Uh-oh, you know what that means? You got a congestion or runny nose. And maybe you got a bit of a headache. Uh-oh, clinical criteria. Likely diagnosis. Uh-oh. All right, that was tough. We had to have 2. 2! Well, let's go for 1. Let's make it easier, or maybe harder. Or any one. Okay, let's not be too tough. Let's not be too stringent. We don't want to, miss any cases, So, or one of the following symptoms. What? Am I dying in the bed? I can't breathe. Dropping dead. People walking, I'm like passing out and can't breathe. What's the criteria? Well, if you have a cough. Likely diagnosis, cough. 1 criteria, cough. Of course, it has some other things, but I'm just showing the absurdity. And all the other things could be for a million other reasons. That's the clinical criteria of a likely diagnosis. So, in the absence of a more likely, so if you don't have the other tests, if you look at this, oh man, you got these, all right, so that's a big possibility there. Now, that was the clinical criteria. Now we have to go to the laboratory criteria. So they have them into 3 divisions: confirmatory, presumptive, and supportive. Again, they don't mean anything because if you read at the bottom here, it says, terms confirmatory, presumptive, and supportive are categorical labels used here to standardize case classification for public health surveillance. The terms should not be used to interpret the utility or validity of any laboratory test methodology. There you go. CDC. What are they? The confirmatory laboratory testing is the molecular amplification test, which is the PCR test. Presumptive, so we're presuming here now, is the antigen test. And supportive, well, we got an antibody test. All right, so these are the 3 laboratory tests which we went through. And then the epidemiological linkage. 1 or more of the following exposure in the past 48 days. What is it? Close contact. And then they define what close contact means because they say we don't really even know what close contact means. Generally defined between 6 feet, at least 15 minutes. But again, that depends on the exposure level, blah, 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 blah. All right, so okay, good for you. Now, close contact with a confirmed or probable case of magic virus disease. And then member of a risk cohort as defined by public health during the outbreak. Oh, the outbreak. So, here we go. That's what the CDC says. Now, they actually do in the updated version for August, instead of what they had in April for the case criteria, it says here, because apparently people were repeating the test. So one gets tested, He's positive. In 2-3 months, they test again. It's positive. So they count them. Hey, more cases, more money, more money, more money. More cases, more cases, more cases. We got more cases. We're number one. USA number one. We got cases, cases, cases. Now, anyways, so it says here, I repeat this criteria to distinguish a new case from an existing case, based, of course, on tests which mean less than nothing. A repeat positive test for magic virus using a molecular amplification detection test, PCR, which we went through already. So a repeat positive test of the PCR within 3 months of the initial report should not be numbered as a new case, because people were doing that. The guy gets tested 5 times and he's positive 5 times. Now we've got 5 cases for surveillance purposes. Today there has been minimal evidence of reinfection. To date, there has been minimal evidence for, that's CDC, people. Today, there has been minimal evidence of reinfection among persons with prior confirmed magic virus infection, and growing evidence that repeat positive RNA tests do not correlate with active infection when viral culture is performed. So here you go. Even CDC just says, so if somebody tested positive 3 months ago, and then they got tested again after 3 months and they repeat positive with the PCR test, do not correlate with an active infection. So are they even infected? Does it even exist? All right. So how do they classify cases? So I'm not going to go over it. My voice is already getting hoarse from all the yelling and screaming. I guess I lost control. I was trying to be cool. I was trying to be calm. I was trying to be reasonable. I think I'm reasonable at least. But, the sarcasm in my voice, I think is apparent. I'm kind of a sarcastic person. And I do not endure... Anyways, I need some more patience. But hey, everybody's patience is done by now, especially when authorized sources, approved sources, tell us the truth in our face. And yet, like double-faced, double-tongued deceivers, they will hype the fear, delude the people, destroy lives, cultures, countries, the poorest of the poor, destroying them. For what? For cases. Don't tell me about the deaths. We're going to get to the deaths in a second. Again, not what I'm saying, what the CDC says and what the Italian health officials say. Not me. Not YouTube guy. All right, so probable case is what? Clinical criteria. So I've got a cough and maybe I talked to somebody who is a probable case. Bam! Case. Confirmed are the laboratory tests, which we saw how accurate these things are. And the other criteria, and suspect is the antigen test, which is crap. Other criteria, vital records criteria, a death certificate that lists magic disease 2019 as an underlying cause of death or a significant condition contributing to death. But now we're going to go to the CDC death thing, and you'll see why a lot of hospitals and doctors were adding magic disease 2019, magic virus 2019, to their lists? Short answer, money, money, money. And we're going to see. All right. Now, we are entering, what was I going to say? The realm of insanity or of truth. Truth. We are called insane for stating the truth, which is staring everybody in the face. Now, again, I repeat, I do not blame the average person because the average person is busy. They're going to their work. They're taking care of their kids. They're washing dishes. They're washing clothes. They're worrying about their parents, their relatives. They're being bombarded. They got 10, 15 minutes to watch the news, or they're driving, listening to the radio with the propaganda and the fear mongering. They do not have the time to research, to examine the topic. So of course they will believe a delusion, a lie, a deception. And when you tell them the facts as provided by approved organs of the state, of the media, and of the tech overlords, they seem, what? What are you saying? You're wrong. I don't know. I heard it on the news. The parrot on the radio told me something, and I got a parrot. The parrot, the parrot said it, so it must be true. I can see the little, the person on television reading a thing or repeating what they were told, and it's true because you know why it's true? Because they're on TV, and the person on TV said it, so it must be true because they know better. And I'm too stupid to argue, so I'm going to believe them. Again, don't blame the people. They don't have time. That is why we should have righteous anger at the deception, at hiding the truth, and the propagation of fear and fear-mongering and lies. Now, the CDC provided a table because at the beginning of the magic virus disease, and a lot of doctors were saying we are being pressured to put the magic virus 2019 as a death cause, even though the guy died from a heart attack, even the guy died from a stroke. We got to put the hospitals are asking us to do it. They're being pressured to do so. And of course, the official media and the tech overlord said, no, that is fake news. That is misinformation. It has to be banned. Well, tech overlords, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, just basically confirmed all the so-called misinformation. And it is not misinformation, but it is the truth. So let's see. And they issued this report. It says Table 3, Conditions Contributing to Death Involving Magic Disease 2019 by Age United States, week ending. It starts from February 1st, 2020 to end August 29, 2020, end of August. So let us read what the CDC, to whom we bow and worship and believe, and we do not dispute their infallibility. But hey, they actually said something true here. They brought the facts, comorbidities, and I will read what the CDC says. Table 3 shows the types of health conditions and contributing causes mentioned in conjunction with deaths involving Magic Disease 2019. So these are causes. But of course, involving, because somebody got tested positive for Magic Disease 2019, but the real cause is the real cause. So shows the types of health conditions and contributing. So the health conditions and contributing causes in conjunction with in conjunction with deaths. So the causes of the deaths involving magic disease, because they got tested. The guy gets a stroke, gets tested positive, boom, magic disease there. Magic disease death count. Let's see what CDC says. For 6%, 6% of the deaths, magic virus 2019 was the only cause mentioned. Again, it could have been something else, but because again, these tests will detect viruses of the same family, like the seasonal flu, the influenza, which could have been actually the cause. So even the 6% is doubtful. But let's assume, let's play along. Let's say the 6% is not even exaggerated, and it is 100% accurate, that these tests give us exactly 100% accuracy. The PCR test accurate, antibody test accurate, antigen test accurate. No dispute, it is 100% accurate. That's why we get the 6%. Accurate. All right, so we're not going to even dispute that. Fine, we'll take your word for it. For 6% of the deaths with magic virus 2019 was the only cause mentioned, which means 94% of health conditions and contributing causes of the deaths, as mentioned by CDC, 94% causes of the death were other than or occurred with the magic virus because they tested positive. So 94%, so only 6% were only of the death were because was the only cause mentioned. So magic virus 2019 was the only cause mentioned for the deaths, so 6%. So 94% was something else. And it says here, for deaths with conditions or causes, in addition to magic virus, on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes of death. On average, 2.6 additional causes or conditions which cause death. On average, 2.6. So some people might have had 5 conditions, 6 conditions. Others might have had 1, 2. So, on average. Let's continue. The number of deaths with each condition or cause is shown, and it shows you the data. And as well, I'm not sure if it's on this page or not, or it says it's mentioned somewhere else, the average age of death is 80 years old. Not children going to school, not teenagers, not young adults, not regular adults, not even seniors who are healthy. No. Now let's watch. So all the different causes, other than magic disease, which is about three causes per death, additional, on top of it. So the magic disease, so it says 2.7, it'll be 4. So 2.6 will be 3.6 if you add magic disease to it. Magic virus 2019. So respiratory disease, influenza and pneumonia. So if people, causes of death or conditions, so influenza and pneumonia, which are different than magic disease 2019, these are one of the conditions. So they could have died really from influenza or pneumonia. But since magic disease was tested positive, they are listed as magic disease 2019 death case. And it goes through a whole bunch of stuff. Already people with like a whole bunch of respiratory diseases, including your regular flu. Because if you look at the numbers, magically, the influenza, while magic virus 2019 goes up, suddenly deaths go up. Suddenly, almost by the same amount, or a good amount, goes down is regular seasonal flu deaths. Magically. Because now they're being called magic virus death. Now, what other diseases, boys and girls, were contributing? Who are the causes and conditions and causes of death? What? Well, we have hypertensive disease, heart disease, cardiac arrest. The guy had a heart attack. Cardiac arrhythmia. Again, his heart stopped. Heart failure. Cerebrovascular disease. Is that a stroke? I don't know. So, somebody gets a heart attack. Somebody gets a heart failure. Somebody gets a stroke. But they were tested positive with all the very accurate tests we've gone through. Then they are listed as magic virus 2019 deaths. That's where you get the numbers from. Not from, it's only 6%. And even this 6%, there is doubt on it. Probably even less than that. Now, what else? What else? There's sepsis. There's malignant neoplasms, which is cancer. So somebody dies from cancer. And that's probably one of the 2 or 3 other diseases they had, or 4 diseases. But they tested positive for magic virus. They are listed as dead from magic virus, when in fact it was cancer. Alzheimer's. Somebody has Alzheimer's and they died from Alzheimer's disease. But I guess they tested positive. You know the story. Dementia. Renal failure. Kidney failure. So the guy who's got bad kidneys, kidney disease, cirrhosis of the liver, whatever. Kidney failure. But I guess they tested positive. So they are magic virus dead. They are one of the cases of the magic virus deaths. Now, the most insane, and how could any human even think of adding it, but they are being honest for a change. The CDC is being honest. But anybody covering this, except for non-approved sources? No, it's not. Let us read what it says. One of the causes of deaths which are added to magic virus, and it's called the magic virus death as a case. What are they? Intentional, and unintentional injury. So, intentional injury. So maybe, I don't know, somebody shoots somebody punches somebody, and they fall, and they hit their head, and they die, unfortunately. That's intentional injury, right? But I guess they got tested, and they tested positive. So, they are a magic virus dead. Among the roll of the deaths of the magic virus. Intentional injury. How about unintentional injury? Well, we had in Florida a while ago, there's this kid who slipped in the shower, fell, hit his head, and died. Went to hospital and didn't make it. And then another case, motorcycle crashes. Again, in Florida, the health official, I think in Orlando, said, well, the guy died from a motorcycle crash, but he tested positive. So the reporter told him, are you going to actually remove that? Because the guy died from a motorcycle crash. He's 21. Or, I don't know, a young man. He said, no, well, maybe the virus caused the motorcycle crash. We don't know. So this is unintentional injury. So motorcycle crash, somebody slipping in the bathtub, I don't know. Maybe somebody swimming and drowning by mistake, unintentional injury, magic virus death. What else? What other gems do they tell us this magic virus causes? And it's listed as a death according to the magic virus, because of the magic virus. The CDC, what does the CDC say? Poisoning, and other adverse events. Poisoning and other adverse events. Somebody gets poisoned and dies. So even they're lying in hospital, the guy's dead from, I don't know, he ate rat poison by mistake and tested positive for magic virus. No, he didn't die from the poison. No. He died from the magic virus. So it's a magic virus death. And of course they say, well, they can't enumerate everything. And also say, well, all other conditions and causes. Here you go. Residual, yalla, whatever. A bunch of other things. But they're all magic virus, of course, listed under the magic virus. Heart attacks, strokes, heart failure, kidney failure, Alzheimer's, intentional and unintentional injury, motorcycle crashes, falling in the bathtub, who cares? Poisoning. It's all magic virus death. That's all listed there. Yeah. So that was in the US. So this is truth from the CDC, people. Tech overlords. I'm not saying this. I'm not getting it from weird websites. This is the CDC. Now, this is from BNN Bloomberg. Bloomberg News. Again, a favorite of the establishment. Now, the CDC said only 6%, again, assuming it's even based on the tests, okay, and magic virus was the only cause. Now, what happens in Italy? Italy, it's only 4%. 4% in Italy. So 96% in Italy, other things. Let's read it from Bloomberg, BNN Bloomberg. It says, Italy says, 96% of magic virus fatalities suffered from other illnesses. The real ones like stroke and heart disease and diabetes, Alzheimer's, car crashes, whatever. So it says here, almost 96% of the country's magic virus fatalities had previous medical conditions. Data from Italy's ISS Health Institute show. So it says, the average age of Italians who've died from the magic virus is around 80. Same thing actually worldwide. And actually before that, it was around 85. All right. And then there's a chart. It shows you the Italy's, it's again from Bloomberg, not me, Bloomberg. Italy magic virus deaths, percentage of patients by prior illnesses. So we have 4.1%, so 4% had no other illnesses, previous illnesses. Bam, this is the 4% from the magic virus. 15% had one. 21% had two more illnesses. Around 60%, 59.5%, so around 60% of those who died from the magic virus had 3 or more illnesses. So 3, 4, 5 other diseases. Cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, high blood pressure, a whole bunch of other. So 3 or more, 60%. But of course, they are listed as magic virus deaths. As if they were going to live forever. And then the UK. It says here from France 24, France 24. Again, one of France's official, approved news sources. What does it say? UK could stop official magic virus death count over claims of exaggeration. What you say? What you say? When was this published? This was in August 10th. What you say? Exaggeration? Don't tell me. Come on. There's no way they're exaggerating anything. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. The UK official magic virus 2019 daily death count could be scrapped following an investigation into public health. England's method of counting the toll. How are they counting it? Well, basically exactly like the US. The Telegraph newspaper reported academics had warned that the way the government health agency calculated the figures was skewed. Don't tell me. As patients who tested positive, we know how accurate that is, for magic virus, but are successfully treated, so they have been treated. They're fine now. They have recovered. What happens? Let's continue. Will still be counted as dying from the magic virus, even if they had a heart attack or were run over by a bus 3 months later. I have no words. Believe it or not, I have no words. We're approaching. Don't you guys get bored with me now. We are approaching the end, the climax of this big theatrical production. Now, it happened in Germany. You know how the Germans are. Accurate people. I know it's stereotypical, but hey, stereotypes are based on reality for the most part. Now, this caused a big stir in Deutschland. And this doctor, he is the head of the forensic department, forensic office department, whatever, in Hamburg, Germany. And he was on German television. And if you search for the article I'm going to post, you will find his on YouTube, his video being interviewed on German television. And I think you could, some of them are providing translation of what he said. Again, this is not like the top Italian doctor, which we discussed previously, the head of the hospital San Raffaele in Milan. This is the head guy of the forensic department in Hamburg, Germany. And what does he say? Again, this was on television, on German television. And he said it. He said it based on actually autopsying bodies of those who died from the magic virus. He actually did the autopsies and looked inside because they don't autopsy anybody. All right, let's see what he says. Renowned forensic doctor destroys media killer virus lies. And what does the doctor say? Nobody has died of magic virus 2019 in Hamburg without previous illnesses, which was said already in Italy, which has been said by CDC now. And he said that in May. All known facts. Prominent forensic medicine professor Klaus Puschel, I don't know how to say his last name, who has vast experience in autopsies individuals who have died from the magic virus in Hamburg, Germany. So he appeared on television in Hamburg and he stunned audiences because he said the truth. You can't call him of misinformation. The guy's opening up bodies and actually doing the forensic work, autopsies. By claiming that the hysteria, that's the correct word, over the magic virus is, quoting him, quoting the doctor, Professor Klaus, completely exaggerated. And then it says, as all fatalities, no exceptions, for him anyways, he examined, had serious, that's what he says, serious previous illnesses, not some like little thing, serious previous illnesses, which would have soon resulted in death, with or without the virus. So this head of the forensic department, this Professor Klaus, he autopsies all these people. He said everyone he autopsied, he always found serious illnesses which they had previously, which were going to cause them to die with or without the magic virus. According to Dr. Klaus, Professor Klaus, this is a quote from him. Even if this sounds harsh, and it does sound harsh, but he's simply stating the truth, because sometimes the truth sounds harsh. People don't want to hear it because they've been hearing the opposite for so long. They've been brainwashed, basically, into believing a lie. You see the world, how this is gone, and you think, well, first of all, when you read in Scripture about the coming of the Antichrist and the beast and how they will deceive the world and they will accept a delusion and believe a lie. And you think, well, how is that possible? That's no way he can deceive the whole world. We've got a preview now, a preview of how the whole world could be deceived. A preview of the big show. Anyways, let's see what Professor Klaus Puschel, sorry, I don't pronounce his last name. I'll just say Professor Klaus, head of the forensic department in Hamburg, Germany, said. He said, even if this sounds harsh, and it does sound harsh, Puschel said, these patients who died, they would all, no exceptions, have died in the course of this year. About 80% of more than 140 people examined, which he actually autopsied, suffered from cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, all kinds of diseases. The average age of the dead is 80 years old. Again, 80. And all these, he says, they would have died anyways within the year. They had serious disease. And I mentioned it before. Fox 35 in Orlando did an investigation. I'm going to put the picture you see. It's questions raised after fatal motorcycle crash listed as magic virus 19 death. That was before the CDC said, well, injury, intentional or non-intentional, even poisoning, is as well listed as a magic virus death. So that was before the CDC had actually admitted the fact. And as I mentioned previously as well, in Florida, they did some labs, because they're all independent labs, they send them samples. Here you go, lab. Examine these samples. Tell us if they have the magic virus. And some of them didn't give any negative results. So 100% positive. They all got the magic virus. Yay. Now, I mentioned previously that doctors were being pressured to add the magic virus to the causes of death of people who die from heart attacks and strokes and kidney disease. Of course, now it's confirmed by the CDC. And of course, previously, this is misinformation. It has to be banned and scrubbed and can't say that. Well, it's now admitted. And you think, why are they doing this? Why are hospitals or putting these, adding magic virus as a cause of death? Even though the guy died in a motorcycle crash or a stroke, we'll add the magic virus too, because we did the very inaccurate tests that we've gone through, and they showed us a positive. Or maybe he was just, had a headache and a cough before he came in, and he knew somebody who had a probable case, so he's a positive case too. So let's put that. Why? Doesn't this seem kind of deceptive? Well, because hospitals, that was first reported by Fox 35, and I'm not first, but I mean, it was well known for a while, but here you go, an authorized source, not me. Hospitals receiving larger reimbursements in federal dollars for treating magic virus patients. And in fact, this RAC monitor, this is just completely medical stuff. Now, this is updated for September 1st, 2020. It says news alert. CMS to require positive magic virus 19 test result for 20% Medicare add-on payment. So before they did the test, all they had to do, the test is, oh, he's a probable case, bam, add it. So they would go, and Medicare payment would give them 20% more. 20%, that's a good markup. Hey, good markup. 20%, 20%, 20% on every magic virus death. Hey, here you go. Heart attack, test him. Oh, did he have a fever? Okay, add magic virus. But then I guess the scam became too obvious, so now they have to provide a positive test result. Well, we've gone through the PCR, antibody, antigen tests, which are bad, worse, and horrible. So, inaccurate, 90% false positive. Antibody, according to CDC, is even worse. Antigen, according to ABC News and the doctors there, even worse than both of them confirmed. So basically that means still nothing. So basically still hospitals can get their 20% bonus. 20% bonus for adding a magic virus death to the list of causes. Heart attack, did you test? Okay, good. Magic virus too. 20% Medicare add-on payment, please. Thank you very much. Now, man, this is taking longer than expected. All right, it's a good thing I'm not working today, so I have time to delve into this. Because that's it. I'm not dealing with this topic again. Do as you please. You have been given the information. It's up to you now. Now, remember all the hype? Oh, we gotta flatten the curve. We don't want to overwhelm the hospitals. We have our frontline workers. Oh my God, they're being flooded. And of course, there was tons of videos on YouTube and stuff, which of course have been removed because I guess they revealed the truth. That hospitals were pretty much empty. Empty. Because they wouldn't treat cancer patients, all kinds of diseases. People wouldn't go. Everybody's became paranoid. Hospitals are empty. Getting ready for the magic virus cascade where the people will be walking and dropping dead in front of us and they'll be flooding the hospitals and we need all these beds and stuff. What happened? What happened? That is from AFP News, but you can find it anywhere. At height of the paranoia, 1.4 million 1.4 million U.S. healthcare workers lose jobs. Now, if it was like the hospitals are being flooded, and we need more room, we need more ventilators, we need more beds, we need more healthcare workers, we need more nurses. Why would you lay off 1.4 million healthcare workers? Because it's the thing which wasn't. One giant exaggeration. And then what happened? We're the US. We're hearing the news. They're telling us we're facing a big disaster. The worst of the worst. So let's go build field hospitals in universities and open fields and bring ships to New York and paint them white with red crosses and beds. People are walking. The hospitals are flooded when they're actually empty. And 1.4 million people lose their jobs because, there's nobody to treat. And now let's build field hospitals, millions of dollars. Already, look at them, and people watching it on television. Oh my God, they're turning the open fields into hospitals with beds and equipment. Oh my God, what are we facing here? The end of the world, the end of civilization. What happened? NPR, again, approved source. Not YouTube guy, NPR. Says, U.S. field hospitals stand down. Most without treating any magic virus patients. So they tore down all the field hospitals, which cost millions and millions of dollars to set up, without treating any magic virus patients. Oh yeah, it's a real. Yeah, sure. That's in the US. And we've seen the ships in New York again. They were like treated, 50 people or something. I don't know. They moved 2 ships and then they sailed away. It's like, sail away, sail away, sail away. Remember Enya? Enya, sail away, sail away, sail away. Now, that's in the US. What's happening in England? Daily Mail. Daily Mail. Agency nurses and carers in Cornwall are being laid off because there is no work for them, while half of the country's hospital beds are empty due to magic virus. They're empty due to the magic virus. Half the country's beds are empty. The nurses are being laid off, like the 1.4 million in the US got laid off. Oh yeah, we have a real deadly magic virus where everybody's getting sick and dying, and we need ventilators. And we gotta listen to science, listen to the experts. Okay. Business Insider, another official source. Business Insider, not YouTube guy, Business Insider. What does it say? Pay cuts, furloughs, and layoffs for doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers are mounting as magic virus hits hospitals. Wow. If it is hitting hospitals, like look at the insanity. If it is actually hitting hospitals. If this magic virus is causing all this, how can you have pay cuts, furloughs, layoffs of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals? And these layoffs are mounting. I think everything should be clear by now. That this was one giant, And of course, we had the videos, which have all pretty much been removed from the internet, but you can still find them, of the bored out of their minds nurses and healthcare workers getting together, doing dances, running around. They were called the TikTok nurses. Because if you don't have time, if you're treating people left, right, and center, and we've got the magic virus, we got to help people, we don't have time to breathe, we're overworked. Would they have time to set up dances, choreograph the moves, do all that, and put it up? No. And obviously not, since 1.4 million lost their jobs. But of course, what are they going to do? I don't blame them. They're bored out of their minds. So, of course, they were dancing, hopping, jumping, and smiling. That's how it goes. Now, believe me, we're almost over. I don't know how long it's going to take, sorry. I was expecting it to be a max 1 hour video. We're already at an hour and 43 minutes, already 44 minutes. I'm getting tired of speaking. But hey, let's move on. Continue on our mission of demolishing the deception and exposing the truth. All right. Now, for those who are still living under the delusion of the seriousness of the magic virus, China just basically laughed in our faces. Tell us, suckers! Idiots. You believed us? What a bunch of... Anyways, what happened? With pictures, lots of pictures for you to see. Lots of pictures. Lots of nice pictures. So here are pictures. So here we go. That was a friend of ours, friend of mine. He used to actually work for me. He passed away, unfortunately, from a brain aneurysm. But of course, these days, if they tested his body, they might have found the magic virus and called it a magic virus death. But he used to work in our magic shop, and he used to do these impressions. So he used to say, instead of saying picture, he'd say picture. You know, all these magicians have their own little sayings. So we have pictures here from the Daily Mail. So China. They had a big pool party, water party, with tens of thousands of people stuck amongst with each other in the water, dancing and giggling and laughing. And they did not observe any of the protocols of our health professionals. They did not stand up, 6 feet apart and wear their face diaper in the swimming pool and not sing and do all this insanity. All right, let's see. Daily Mail. That is in August, I believe. August 20th, 2020. China dismisses global outrage over its Wuhan water party and claims the packed gathering sent a message to the world that its lockdown paid off or that the thing was never that bad in the first place, suckers. Because now the magic virus has magically disappeared. And here you go. These are the pictures. I mean, I would think they would probably say get some skin disease. Somebody has some skin disease there. All these kids, lots of people probably peeing. I'm being disgusting here now, but lots of people are probably urinating in the swimming pool with the little children. I mean, how can they even exit to go to a washroom? There's no way. So they might get other things from all this gathering other than the magic virus. But here it is from the Wuhan poo party. Wuhan poo party. They are having fun. They are dancing on their boats, blow up boats. Look at the crowds. Look at the people. At the epicenter of the magic virus explosion. Dance party, DJing. You go to the Daily Mail website, you'll find the video of them dancing, rapping, people in the pool having fun. And here you are. In your face, West. In your face, Europe. In your face, Canada and the US. In your face, world. We are China. Suckers! You destroyed your economies. You destroyed your world. And we are having a poo party. All right. So, the efficacy. Now, I'm getting tired, but let's go ahead. Now you see how people are. First of all, China just blew the lid off of it with this pool party at the epicenter of the magic virus. All right. You see, you gotta disinfect. Oh, you touch this, don't touch. Be careful, don't touch this, don't touch this, don't touch. Be careful, be careful, be careful. And everybody, sanitize. Okay, well, sanitizing is good. Washing your hand is basic. Basic cleanliness. You gotta wash your hands. If you touch something dirty, don't touch your face. Don't lick your hand. Don't sniff your hand. Don't rub your eyes with dirty hands. Obviously, basic stuff. You're feeling sick and drowsy, blow your nose. Don't maybe go to work. But that's basic sanitary things. Wash your hands, keep your hands clean. But not this insanity of sanitizing every 2 seconds. Now again, from the CDC, boys and girls. Sorry, I'm starting to hallucinate here. CDC. Now remember at the beginning they said, oh, be careful, don't touch this, don't touch. The magic virus lives for a week on this metal surfaces. Be careful, you touch anything, it'll come to you. It's the magic virus, it's the undead dead. It will never, it's the Frankenstein, it doesn't die. Be careful. Now what does the CDC say? It may, again notice the words. It may, not just may. It's not that may spread. No, it may be possible that a person can get magic virus by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it, and then touching their own mouth or nose, or possibly, I don't know, possibly their eyes. Now that's the fantasy land part, because it may be possible that a person can get struck by lightning if they are walking in the forest. It may be possible that a person can get struck by lightning. Yeah, it's a possibility. No denying it. But let's continue what the CDC says. This is not thought to be the main way the magic virus spreads. So, basically, it doesn't really. It could spread from a surface, but it is very, very unlikely. To use the words of the CDC, it may be possible that a person can get magic virus by touching it. So you gotta aim right. You know exactly where so you gotta watch the guy who is infected and sick, and he sneezes on a table, and you run to the table and grab it, touch the table like that, and then go and touch your nose and ears and eyes. Then there's a possibility you catch it, according to the CDC. All right. So now we saw the tests. Basically, more than very inaccurate, extremely inaccurate, absolutely inaccurate, false. We've seen the I forgot what I talked about. All the classifications. You cough, your fever, and we've seen China having a pool party, and now the CDC says, well, don't worry much about the surfaces stuff. Yeah, keep your hands clean. There's a possibility. We don't want to say impossible, because everything is possible. There is a possibility for anything. There's a possibility I can, I don't know, walk across the street and get struck by a car. It's a possibility. Unlikely, but hey, you don't want to say never. You don't want to say never. You don't want to say the impossible, because, somebody might be super infected, super infectious, sneeze on a surface, and you very sanely and wisely run to the surface and touch exactly where he sneezed, and, smell it and rub your eyes and put your hand in your mouth. That's a possibility. You never know. All right. So we're done with the surface stuff. We're done with the test stuff. We're done with the case classification stuff. Now, we come to the reason people are running around wearing a face diaper on their faces. A diaper on their faces for no reason. They're in their car by themselves. Oh, I gotta cover my face. I never know. You never know. It's I'm walking in the middle of nowhere by myself. I gotta cover my face. Maybe the air is gonna kill me. I don't know. See the mental derangement that happened to people from watching the news, the parrots on television. I'm walking in the middle of nowhere by myself. I got to cover my face. I don't know. I've seen people on bicycles covering their faces. I've seen people on skateboards. A skateboard guy, 20 years old or something, 17. He's got to put the diaper on his face because, I'm skateboarding. You never know. I might, it's in the air somewhere. Everything. The air is killer. We watch too many shows on television where the air will poison us. Mental derangement. People in their cars by themselves, walking by themselves, bicycles. I mean, watching all the news, I can understand if you're going into a super busy place and you think, well, maybe I should actually do that. If you believe, of course, the parrots on television. But of course, after this, I hope you don't believe any of it. But to see people walking by themselves in the middle of nowhere, so scared, so psychologically damaged, so psychologically raped that they are afraid to show their face. Even they're walking by themselves in the middle of nowhere, having to cover their faces. This drives me up the wall. First of all, I'm angry. Second of all, I'm sad and seeing what's happening to people. And what's worse, seeing mothers taking their 2-year-old and psychologically damaging them by teaching them, you have to not show your face outside because the air is going to kill you. That's what a child will think. I have to put it, otherwise I'm going to die. That's what they're thinking, the children. How are they going to be psychologically in a few years? We haven't seen the end of this global deception, the consequences. Anyways, here is what CTV News in Canada has to say. And they're talking about the head of the BC the British Columbia disease health officials. And this was in June 3rd. He says, there's absolutely, for those who are spreading the theory that magic virus is airborne. It floats forever and ever. It's like an angel. It's floating and it's hovering, and you pass it and you're going to catch it. And you're going to be one of the cases. So, what does he say? There's absolutely no evidence that magic virus 19 is airborne. BC health official says. You can read the article. And then in August or September, let's see here if I can find the date. No, July 8th, 2020, the World Health Organization, to whom we should bow and pray, because they are our infallible guides to all that is healthy. But actually now we are into a, well, let's see what they said. Let's see what they said first. Because the truth comes out. From all the evidence we've gone through already, the truth comes out. While at the same time, certain people or organizations are trying to perpetuate the fear and the deception. But here's the truth. The WHO, that's from Time Magazine, tech lords, from Time Magazine. The WHO says, airborne magic virus transmission isn't a big risk. That's what the World Health Organization says. But of course, we gotta keep the fear going. Now, Time adds, scientists are pushing back. So what are you saying? The World Health Organization doesn't have scientists? The scientists who work at the World Health Organizations are not qualified? So your scientists are pushing back. See the deception? Because now we are living in a politically correct science. We have politically correct science. Because whenever somebody says something, the media or the propagator of fear want to spread, they come and attack them. So they said, well, hey, airborne transmission it's not even a thing. It's not a big deal, not a big risk. Very, very not risky at all. And in the BC, the health insurance says there's absolutely no evidence of airborne transmission. But of course, they have to be attacked. How dare you say that? Hey, don't you know we have a whole scenario happening here? We have a whole global play taking a performance art taking place here. Why are you ruining our action? Why are you ruining our storyline? Stop it, would you? That's the politically correct science nowadays. So, and another thing, again, from the WHO, World Health Organization, from Forbes magazine, tech lords, Forbes magazine, June 8th, 2020, World Health Organization, with their head scientist, says asymptomatic people, or basically people who do not have symptoms, who are perfectly healthy. WHO says, World Health Organization says, asymptomatic spread of magic virus, very rare. Forbes magazine, their very quote, asymptomatic spread is very rare. But experts raise questions. So, of course, they have to attack them. How dare you say it's very rare? How dare you say it's not airborne? No, we gotta spread the fear. Correct your science. We need politically correct science. So, of course, they attacked the World Health Organization for saying it's very rare. So the World Health Organization said, it's very rare. Well, we have no data showing that it is spread by asymptomatic people, but we're still learning. So basically, they're pressuring them to change their story. Politically correct science. So all the parrots on television who say, you got to follow the science. You got to follow the science. What science are you talking about? Your politically correct, altered science? Your fake science, which changes reality? So here you go. So first of all, we've seen the tests all basically as good as not even testing, because 90% PCR is false positives. Antibody test is worse accuracy than the PCR according to the CDC, and the antigen test is even worse than both according to ABC News. So that's the testing. And the clinical symptoms, I've got a subjective fever and I think I got a headache. Okay, well, there you go. You're a probable case then. So now it says, and now the CDC, the World Health Organization, first of all, it's not airborne, and asymptomatic spread is very unlikely. Now the question becomes why are we doing the distancing among healthy people, asymptomatic? Because there is no it's not airborne, and asymptomatic spread is very unlikely. Plus, on top of it, we saw the viral load of the virus is virtually is infinitesimal. We've seen that previously. So the question is, why the distance? Why the diapers on your face where you can breathe your own exhaust, where you breathe your own expelled exhaust, because you breathe in fresh air and you expel not fresh air. You want to breathe it in again? All right, go ahead, do it. Do it! Now, again, this article from Medical Press, and I actually pressed on the homepage. It's just medicine. It is medical stuff. That's it. From Medical Press. This is printed October 17th, 2019. So before politically correct science, because science magically changes. These days, the science magically changes to suit an agenda. What does it say here? From Medical Press, October 17th, 2019. Written by Manal Muhammad. And the question is, can surgical masks, and that's October 17th, 2019. Can surgical masks, which most people don't wear. People have a little piece of cloth, putting it on their face. Nothing even close to a surgical mask. Now they're talking about a much higher quality of a face covering here. Can surgical masks protect you from getting the flu? Let me repeat again. This is from the Medical Press. If you press that link it is all medical stuff, all not topics, not news media. It is just basically strictly about medicine. So in the Medical Press, printed October 17th, 2019. So before the magic virus spreading around the world. And this is talking about the flu virus and whether the surgical mask can protect you from the flu. And the title of the article is, Can Surgical Masks Protect You from Getting the Flu? And remember, surgical masks are a far higher grade of mask than the 95% of people, whatever the piece of cloth they put in front of their faces is. It is far more effective than that. And this was written by Manal Muhammad on October 20 on this website. So let's see what it says. Now, the flu, well, again, before you people will say, wait, hey, YouTube guy, you're confusing things. They're talking about the flu here, not the magic virus. The magic virus is different. It's the magic virus, But as the CDC talks about the antibody test and even the PCR test, if it is from the same family of the same virus family, which the magic virus is in the same family as the flu virus, as is the cold or common cold virus. And in fact, they will talk about what the CDC recommends. Remember, that's before the magic virus spread worldwide. So they're talking real science then. Not politically correct science, not science influenced by politics and by the media and by propaganda, but science which is science, not based on the will of the governors and the governments and the authorities, but real science. So, and when they will talk about the CDC in a second, they will actually link to the CDC website. And the CDC, when you read the mode of transmission of the flu virus, it is identical to the mode of transmission of the magic virus 2019. Including, they're saying, about the 6-foot separation, about the droplets, about all the same identical modes of even surface transmission, a possibility with the flu virus, identical. So they are, because they belong to the same virus family. All right, so let's read it. Now, this is from the medical journal. It says, the flu vaccine is usually only around 15% effective. Only around 15. I've heard some years it's 10%, some years it's 12%, some years it's 15%. And I've said this story once, I think, on one of the videos. My mother, who's like, how old is she now? 77? She's never in her entire life taken a flu vaccine, because where we grew up in the Middle East and then in Canada, well, mainly in the Middle East, what do you need, flu vaccine? Who takes a vaccine for that? That's the normal state of life. She never ever had the flu vaccine. I have never ever had a flu vaccine. And I don't even remember the last time I had the flu, honestly speaking. So I hope I don't jinx myself here. Anyway, she hasn't had the flu in a long time. I mean, she might get a little bit of an ache in the winter time. So anyways, that was 1 year. She decided, well, let me take the flu vaccine. Everybody says, you see the people lining up, like as I said, sheep. Sheep lining up in the malls to get punctured and taking the magic flu vaccine, which is at best only 15% effective. Anyways, she took it 1 year. She was sick the entire winter and caused her other actually immune reactions with pimples on her face, and which she struggled with since then. And that was the one and only time she took that flu vaccine. So of course, when we're coming to talk about vaccines for the magic virus, which belongs to the same family of the flu vaccine, what do you think? How do you think they can actually come up with an effective vaccine if they couldn't come up with a vaccine more than 15% effective for a member of the same virus family? Think about it. Just think. Think for a second. And that's all it takes to figure out that, no, they can't. All right, so let's go here. But the flu vaccine is usually only around 15% effective. So people are looking for a belt and braces approach to avoid getting infected. Now they're talking about the regular seasonal flu. So the flu virus is mainly spread by droplets. Same story with the magic virus. Expelled from the mouths and noses of infected people when they cough, sneeze, or talk. These droplets can spread up to 6 feet away, exactly like the magic virus, because they belong to the same frickin' family of viruses. The flu virus is mainly spread by droplets expelled from the mouth and noses of infected people when they cough, sneeze, or talk. These droplets, I just said that. Okay, anyways. It may seem, listen, it may seem, but it is not so. But it may seem intuitive that if you wear a surgical mask, not a piece of cloth in front of your face, not your sweater lifting it up, a surgical mask. So it may seem intuitive that if you wear a surgical mask, you could stop the virus from getting into your lungs. It seems intuitive, but it's false. And certainly that's how most masks are marketed online. They're marketed. They're sold as that. Advertising, man. One flu surgical face mask. Far more important than any piece of cloth you put in front of your face. Okay? Even boasts protect against the deadly H1N1 swine flu that has killed many worldwide and other bacteria and viruses in the air. So they're quoting the advertising for this face mask. So the logic of wearing a surgical mask must surely be, that's the logic which is basically spewed by the sudden magic experts, which apparently the science suddenly magically changed, in a few months. For the same virus family. Okay, let's see. The logic of wearing a surgical mask must surely be, if it works for surgeons, it must work for me. The problem is, the mask isn't intended to protect the surgeon. It is intended to stop droplets from the surgeon's mouth or nose getting into the patient's wound and causing sepsis. That's the only reason. The patient is cut open. His insides are open. So the mask is just intended to prevent droplets going into the patient, the open patient on a surgical table. But despite their use for more than a century, their prophylactic effectiveness is in doubt. Is in doubt, even for surgeons. Indeed, a recent study, and you can click on it and read it. So that's why I'm giving you the headline, so you can, if you want to delve deeper into this, you can go ahead. Indeed, a recent study showed that surgical masks can be a source of bacterial contamination. A recent study showed that surgical masks can be a source of bacterial contamination in the operating theater. So instead of actually, it might be better for a surgeon not to wear a mask while he is operating. Indeed, a recent study showed that surgical masks can be a source of bacterial contamination in the operating theater. Although they are designed to trap bacteria shed by the surgeon's nose and mouth, the study found bacteria on the exterior of used masks, on the outside of the mask itself. And then it continues. And this is the same story as courtesy mask. Have courtesy for the other people around you. Here it is, what it is. It says, impractical. So surgical masks are sometimes referred to as surgical masks, not even a piece of cloth on your face. Now we're talking surgical masks. Are sometimes referred to as courtesy masks, suggesting that some people wear them for the same altruistic reason surgeons wear them, to stop others from getting their germs. But as the studies in operating theaters show, this benefit is dubious. And given that many people describe the flu as like being hit by a truck, it is unlikely that people will be strolling around town with a mask on when they are their most infectious. And remember, the World Health Organization said asymptomatic people are basically not infectious. Viral spread from asymptomatic people is very rare, so they are not infectious. And actually, the CDC itself originally, I didn't double check now if they changed their minds, but I don't think so. Originally said people are most infectious when they are showing symptoms. That's when the height of the infectiousness, exactly like the regular flu, because it's in the same family. All right, so they'll be tucked in bed, sweating and aching. Back then, they didn't have the magic virus, but now it'll be the magic virus's fault, No strong evidence. We're continuing with this medical article. So it said, a study that is often cited as evidence that surgical masks work in a randomized trial from 2009 that compared surgical masks with specialized masks called N95 respirators, a mask that fits snugly and filters at least 95 of very small 0.3 micron particles. The study published by JAMA, J-A-M-A, found that surgical masks were as effective as N95 respirators at preventing the flu, which is to say, keywords here, not all that effective. That is science, not the fake science politically inspired, media drummed up science. They are not all that effective because of the 446 nurses who took part in the study, nearly 1 in 4, 25%, 1 in 4, 24% in the surgical mask group still got the flu. So they would still get the magic virus if it was that bad. As a 23%, again, basically a quarter of those who wore the N95 respirator. So here you go. Even wearing it, 25% of the time, they still got the flu. Whether the surgical mask or the N95. Now we're not talking a piece of cloth in front of your face. If they were wearing a piece of cloth in front of their face, it might have been the same. It might have been more. Who knows? May have been even less because you are breathing fresh air. It continues. Basically, there is no strong evidence to support there's no strong evidence to support well people meaning people, healthy people, wearing surgical masks in public. Or as the U.S. Center for Disease Control, the CDC, for a long time said, and it continued to say, until of course the politically correct science came into play, or as the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention put it, and you can link to it and see it. No recommendation can be made at this time for mask use in the community by asymptomatic persons, including those at high risk for complications, to prevent exposure to influenza viruses. And remember, magic virus belongs to the same family of the influenza viruses. And asymptomatic spread is very rare, meaning it doesn't, as the World Health Organization has said. The best thing you can do to stop getting the flu or the magic virus is to regularly wash your hands and try to avoid touching your face. Period. End of story. Case closed. Now, from the Financial Review, from Sweden, the only country which didn't do an insane lockdown. Masks are pointless, says Sweden's maverick chief medic. And then, even in the Netherlands, that's from July 30th, Dutch government won't require face masks over lack of proven effectiveness. These people are actually looking at the real science, not the fake science, the science of television news networks, the science of politicians. No, they're looking at real science. Yeah, that's the real science. There is no asymptomatic spread. It's not airborne. Masks don't work. No proven effectiveness to prevent influenza viruses. Like, what else do you need to hear? So all these, you gotta wear this, you gotta, you say simply, no, I won't. Show me it's correct. So after this big long story now, we saw the tests, how inaccurate they are. They are more inaccurate than accurate. They're horrible. We've seen all the data I gave you. I don't even remember now. It's been like 2 hours of stuff. Now, all of this should make it, and the death, 6% in the US, and that number is probably exaggerated, and 4% in Italy. And people dying from cancer, being called with the magic virus death, dying from a stroke. They might died from the magic virus. They died in a motorcycle accident. They died from the magic virus. They died from poisoning. They died from the magic virus too. So, after all this, I should tell you, this is a one big giant show. But of course, they keep on hyping in the media. We have more cases. The cases are spiking. Oh man, we're getting cases. We might have to go into lockdown. There are cases. Be ready for a lockdown. Yeah, if they want to cause mass starvation in the third world, they'll do that. Maybe that's the plan. Who knows? I don't know. So obviously, after all this long story, any vaccine, which it means, is meaningless. It is not required. It is not needed. All you need is a good immune system, basic nutrition. Even the doctor Dr. Fauci, yeah, Dr. Fauci said, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You could take some vitamin C and you could take some D vitamin. That's good for you. And I take it myself, Dr. Fauci said. Yeah. So, vitamin C, D, zinc, nutrition, exercise, socializing with people, lifting up your spirits, that will strengthen your immune system, and that's basically what you need. So all this, the desire for a magic vaccine, as I said, the flu vaccine is only maximum 15% effective. Not even. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 12, according to them. According to the officials, it is that effective. And who knows what you're pumping into your cell system. And of course, you know why? Because it always mutates. The virus mutates. It changes. And well, let me actually go say I was going to say. Well, there was a study in China. It was published by the New York Post, April 21st. So in April, so a while ago. The magic virus has mutated into at least 30 different strains, Chinese study finds. 30 different strains in April. How about now? It's September. What is it? 100 strains? 200 strains? No wonder that in May, the Italian doctor who examined the magic virus said the viral load in it now in Italy is infinitesimal, basically no longer exists, because there are different strains, different mutations. So, do you think they have the magical power to produce a vaccine against the magic virus, which belongs to the same family as the seasonal flu and cold, when they couldn't do a vaccine for the seasonal flu in 1,000 years? What makes you think they're going to be able to do something for the magic virus, which belongs to the same family? They can't. Plus, they don't need to, because it's not that bad. Now, as some of you know, basically vaccines are the manufacturers of vaccines in the US, they are exempt from prosecution. If you get sick, if you get whatever, well, as long as the government approved it, well, the companies are, hey, you can't sue us. The government said it's okay, you know, so they are covered. Now, some countries are not. So AstraZeneca, for example, went to the British government, said, look, we're not going to produce any vaccine unless you give us exemption from prosecution. And I'm going to read you, because they know there are consequences and there is potential severe side effects. From Reuters, not some weirdo website, from your Reuters. On July 30th, AstraZeneca to be exempt from magic virus vaccine liability claims in most countries. AstraZeneca has been granted, not just them, all the other vaccine company, Pfizer, Moderna, all the rest of them. AstraZeneca has been granted protection from future product liability claims related to its magic virus vaccine. Hopefully by most of the countries with which it has struck supply agreements, a senior executive told Reuters News. And what does the senior executive of this pharmaceutical company said? Let's say, quote him verbatim. This is what he said. This is a unique situation where now that's the important thing for them, we as a company simply can't take the risk. If in 4 years the vaccine is showing side effects. Ruud Dauber, a member of Astra's senior executive team, told Reuters. In the contracts we have in place, we are asking for indemnification. For most countries, it's acceptable to take that risk on their shoulders, not AstraZeneca's shoulders. We can't take that risk as a company. We don't know what happens in 4 years. You take the vaccine, in 4 years something happened, we don't want to be responsible. We don't want to be liable for any of that. But the countries can take that risk on themselves, on their shoulders, because it is their national interest. He said, adding that Astra and regulators were making safety and tolerability a top priority. Tolerability. Are you going to be able to tolerate the magic vaccine? So here you go. From the words of AstraZeneca executive. Oh yeah, well, we're as a company, we can't take that risk. Sorry. We're not going to make your magic vaccine unless you tell us we're not responsible if something happens in like 4 years side effects. We're not taking the risk. As a company, we cannot take that risk. But you as countries can take that risk on your shoulders, and it's in your interest, not ours. I mean, we want to make the money but not be responsible. You want the vaccine, we'll give you a vaccine. But in case something happened in 4 years, for example, we not our problem. That's what he said on Reuters. Now, of course, we have Dr. Fauci. What does he say? He tells Congress there is no guarantee that the vaccine is actually going to be effective. May 12th. And of course, nothing changes much because, again, you're fighting a virus of the same family as the influenza vaccine, which is at max 15% effective, maybe 12%, maybe 10%. So now they're sinking billions into these companies. Give us a vaccine. We don't care if it causes anything. But so the companies are saying, well, look, we're going to be exempt from liability. You want a vaccine, we'll give you a vaccine. You give us money, we'll give you a vaccine. Anything happens in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, side effects, whatever, we're not responsible. We're not liable. It's on your shoulders, countries. And most countries are saying, yeah, sure, yeah. We'll take the risk. Give us the vaccine. We'll take the risk. It doesn't matter. Our people will take it. We'll give it to them for free. They'll just take it. Because we say it's okay. We approve it. And here we have Fauci saying himself, there's no guarantee it's going to be effective. So, do you want to go and get your safe and effective magic virus vaccine? Go ahead. After all of I said, if that doesn't wake people up or wake viewers up about the truth of the matter, then nothing will. But I'm doing this to put it on the record for anybody in 5 years, 10 years and say, what happened in 2020? How did all these people behave that way, did believe that, when the facts are explicit in front of them? Anyways, so now we're going to end it with what... because it is based on our rights to worship, to gather, to live. And since we're talking here a Catholic channel, Christian channel, our right to worship and to assemble and to practice our religion as we see fit. And this goes to the bishops who are being so subservient to the secular authority, as if they are more subservient to the secular government than to God, than to Jesus Christ, than to tradition, than to the apostles, than to his church, than to the faith. They are more subservient and obedient to health officials and the governments than to God. But let us see what the governments have to say. United Nations Again, we are quoting your laws, which you want to rule us by. The United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. What are they, United Nations? Article 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. So basically, the government has no power to interfere in our practice of religion, either in its teaching, practice, worship, or observance. You can't say, well, you can't give communion this way. No, you got to give it this way. No. You can't have singing because, the magic virus is floating in the air. And no, you can't kneel. You can't do this and you can't do that. They, according to the UN, Article 18, they have no such right. And even the gathering in public or private, alone or with the community. That is a basic human right according to the United Nations. Now let's see the European Union, EU. So again, the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. Fundamental rights. These are fundamental, the basics, the foundation. These fundamentals, the foundation cannot be removed. So, let's go with Article 10. Freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought. Hey, I don't think this is that serious. Oh, fake news, you gotta shut him down, ban him, the doctors are saying, no, that's not freedom of thought. Conscience and religion. This right includes freedom to change religion. Basically, they're quoting the UN for the most part, or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or in private to manifest religion or belief in worship, teaching, practice, and observance. Number 2, we don't care about that right now. Article 11, freedom of expression and information. Everybody has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and to impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. Does the EU even observe its own charter? Do they? No. They're forcing Facebook and Twitter and this and that to ban and censor, and so they are actually violating their own charter. The freedom and pluralism of the media shall be respected, but is it? It is not, definitely, because you express the wrong opinion, you're not allowed. Article 12 of the European EU Charter of Rights, freedom of assembly and association. Freedom of assembly and association. You can't say, well, you got to have 5 people here, 6 people there, 10 people there. No, you can't. Everyone, number 1, everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and freedom of association at all levels. So that's the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. Now let's go to the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Not exercise it with restrictions. Oh no, you can only have a 20% capacity. Oh, sorry, you can't sing. Oh, okay, well, we can't. Actually, we're going to shut it down for 2-3 weeks. Oh, no. The Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. There is no limit on how many people can assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment, which is being violated left, right, and center by the governors of various states, and the bishops are subservient to the tyranny over a delusion, over a lie, over a deception. Some people say, well, hey, that's only the federal government, but the states are different. 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So basically, the state cannot violate the Constitution or the First Amendment because it's a state and it's not the federal government, because all of them are American. All of us are Americans under the one Constitution. How about the Canadian government, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms? Fundamental freedoms. Fundamental. These are fundamental freedoms. Number 2, everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. A, freedom of conscience and religion. B, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication, which is being violated because they want to censor again everybody. Oh, no, you said the wrong thing. We can't have that now. Freedom of peaceful assembly, mimicking the American ones. Freedom of association. So, peaceful assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of thought, freedom of conscience. Yeah. Any bishop is going to stand up? Any priest going to stand up? We have to take matters and act as free men and women. We are not slaves to tyranny. Now, this will be the final section. I know I've said that before, but hey, more stuff just pops up. Now we're talking about Sunday obligation, going to Mass, attending the most holy sacrifice of the altar, the sacrifice of the cross. From the beginning of Christianity, Christians gathered on the first day of the week, which is Sunday, to celebrate and remember the resurrection of Christ, to remember his sacrifice on Good Friday and his resurrection and ascension, and to eat the Lamb of God offered in sacrifice. And to be filled, because Jesus said, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you do not have life in you, because he is the way, the truth, and the life. Because he is God, he is divinity who is life. So bishops are saying, hey, Sunday obligation, we're allowing you to ignore that. Sure, no, you're not obliged to attend Sunday Mass anymore. Yeah, these are one of the precepts of the church, is to attend Mass on Sundays. But do they even have the right? Because that precept is based on the third commandment, to keep the Sabbath holy. So do bishops have the authority to override the commandment of God? No, they don't. The precept is based on the commandment. It's a fulfillment and obedience to the third commandment. So the bishops do not have that authority. Let's read the third commandment. Remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy works. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work on it, neither thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy beast, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and the sea and all things that are in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. So you have to remember to keep the Sabbath day holy, which for us is Sunday, is the day of rest, Sabbath, meaning the rest. Now the Catechism of the Council of Trent gives us reasons for this commandment. This command, and actually you will notice in a second that the new Catechism of the Catholic Church under Pope John Paul II basically echoes the Catechism of the Council of Trent because it's the faith. Reasons for this commandment. This commandment of the law rightly and in due order prescribes the external worship. External worship. Not internal in my house, which we owe to God. It is, as it were, the consequence of the preceding command. For if we sincerely and devoutly worship God, we cannot but honor him with external worship and thanksgiving. And what happens if we neglect this commandment? Neglect of this commandment, a great crime. So bishops cannot say, well, neglect the commandment. It's a great crime. But those who altogether neglect its fulfillment resist God and his church. They heed not God's command and are enemies of him and his holy laws. To refuse obedience to this commandment to keep the Sabbath day holy, meaning to go and worship God and dedicate the whole day to God, is therefore a proof of extreme boldness and the punishment with which its infraction has been visited by God. As we learn, it should be a warning to us. And we should not be offending God in this way. And now this is from the Catechism of the Catholic Church under Pope John Paul II. Section 2176. The celebration of Sunday observes the moral commandment. It's a moral commandment inscribed by nature in the human heart, to render to God an outward, visible, public, and regular worship. That is from the Catechism of the Catholic Church of John Paul II, section 2177. The Sunday celebration of the Lord's Day and his Eucharist is the heart of the Church's life. Sunday is the day in which the Paschal Mystery is celebrated in light of apostolic tradition and is to be observed as the foremost holy day of obligation in the Universal Church. That's the New Catechism. Still New Catechism, 2178. So it gives an example from the letter of the Hebrews, not to neglect to meet together on the first day of the week, on Sunday. It comes from the apostolic age. And it quotes, tradition preserves the memory of an ever-timely exhortation. Come to church early, approach the Lord and confess your sins, repent in prayer, be present at the sacred and divine liturgy. And then still in the New Catechism of John Paul II, the Catechism of the Catholic Church says, you cannot pray at home as a church. You cannot pray at home as a church. You cannot pray at home as at church. Impossible. Still in the New Catechism, section 2180, the Sunday obligation. The precept of the church specifies the law of the Lord. It's not a church law. Well, I can dispense with it. Dispense with your obligation to worship God on Sunday. Watch him on TV. Say a little prayer here and there. No, the precept of the church specifies the law of the Lord. That is what it is. It's only actually specifying the law of God more precisely. On Sundays and other holy days of obligation, the faithful are bound to participate in the Mass. It is only specifying the law of God. So now we see, with almost 3 hours of talking here, that we are living in a deception, a delusion. Yes, there is a magic virus, but that magic virus ain't all that. And all the tests they give you to test for it are extremely inaccurate. They only lead to paranoia and deception, because it will show a positive when it is in fact a negative. Then we see I forgot all the stuff we talked about already. The death rate, the real one, that 6% died from the magic virus in the US, probably even less than that, and 4% in Italy. Then, of course, they added people with heart attacks, strokes, car accidents, poisoning, kidney failure, cancer into the mix, as the CDC has put it out on their own website, as dying from the magic virus. Why? Because the hospitals get 20% or $20,000 more per magic virus death. And there are many other reasons. And we saw it is not airborne, as the World Health Organization has said. Asymptomatic spread is very rare. And the masks, according to real science, before the politically correct fake science came into being, says they're ineffective, they're dubious, their use is basically useless for an influenza virus, which belongs to the same family as the magic virus. So it is time for us all to wake up to the truth and breathe and relax and know that there is nothing to fear but God. We have to restore our sanity. What is happening is a grand delusion. It is insanity. It is affecting the lives and minds and hearts and psyche of billions of people, let alone the starvation it is causing in the third world. In the West, yeah, the government will help, but what is happening with all the hundreds of thousands of people who work on cruise ships, who come usually from the third world? How are they going to feed their families and kids? How are they going to put them through school? There is no welfare programs in these countries. And the mass starvation caused in other places, and diseases, all for what? For nothing. In reality, for nothing. If you're around 80 years old and you have like 3-4 other diseases, yeah, if you get the magic virus, you might die. But again, you would have died anyways from the other diseases, probably within the same year, as the doctor from Hamburg, Professor Klaus, said. So this is basically all I have to say. I've said everything I can say about this to bring all the facts together, so it is clear and you can see the facts. And more than this, I can do nothing. I will live free. I will not succumb to pressure, to conform, to be a sheep among sheep, to be a parrot among parrots. No. We have to be human. We have to use our minds. We have to wake up and follow the truth. So again, as I say to the successors of the apostles, the patriarchs, the archbishops, bishops, priests, clergy, and of course all the people of God and the whole world, every human being, sons and daughters of Adam and Eve, the human family, let us be free. And I tell the bishops again, successors of the apostles. Slay the dragon of deception with the sword of the Spirit. Be shepherds, not hirelings. That's it. That's all. I hope you like this video. Please like, share, subscribe. Press the alert, the notification bell. And actually, seriously, try to send this video directly to as many people as you know. We need to wake people up, to tell them the truth, for they to check things out themselves. People you know, friends, priests, relatives, government, local government officials, whatever. Let us do something. So we finally will return to normal, to sanity. Not to the new normal, not to the magic virus world, but to truth, to liberty, and true fraternity. That's it. That's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.